Hey besties, how are you doing? Welcome back. My name is Charlotte if you're new here. It's so good to have you. Guys, I am in the middle of so many fantasy series and it's time that we crack it down and we work our way through them. So I'm not entirely sure what series we are going to read in this vlog because there are so many that I need to get through. We have the Two Twisted Crowns duology. We have the last book in the Belladonna series, Wisteria. I have two of the Caravel books that I need to read, Legendary and Finale. I have War Storm by Victoria Avard that I need to read. That's 4. I have Map of the Otherlands, Emily Wilde Map of the Otherlands to read. I think those are the 5 series I'm in the middle of that have books out. So yeah, we have a lot of fantasy series that I need to catch up on, so we're going to try and read 3 of those today. Whoa! 3 of those in this vlog. So, I have started with Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I finished One Dark Window last weekend when I filmed my 24-hour readathon and I loved it. I love this world. I'm really excited to get back into this world. So this duology is basically about I think it's like a kingdom that has a really peculiar magic system. So they have this mist that carries the magic of the spirit from the forest, and you can get infected by the spirit as a child and then you have magic, but like the magic isn't allowed, so they like kill you because you're not allowed those powers. And then they have another magic system which is playing cards, which is allowed magic, and you're allowed to purchase and trade cards. And each card has like a different power, and there's a certain amount of cards. So it's kind of like, you know, the pear tree things. You've got like 12 partridges. No, 1 partridge, 5 ladies' maids, that kind of thing. It's like that as cards, and the amount of, on the number is the amount of cards there is. I don't know if I've explained that well. But that's kind of the magic system. And we follow Elspeth, who is infected, but she has been keeping the fact that she has magic a secret, but she has a nightmare in her head. Crazy stuff. So Two Twisted Crowns picks up on, I don't know if it picks up, I'm not gonna lie, I started it last night, absolutely could not figure out if it picked up from where we left off, because it was kind of like a bit all over the place. So I definitely think I need to just sit down and read a big chunk and figure out what is going on, what this one is about, because I don't particularly like to read the blurbs of second books. Hot take. But yeah, that is what we're starting out from. I'm not sure what I'm going to go into after. I'm not sure what books we are going to read. Obviously, I know I need to read War Storm, but it's so chunky. Trying to fit this into a vlog is going to be hard, and it's 4th book in a series. Like, that will be finishing the series, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that is what we're going to be doing this week. We're going to be either wrapping up or making our way through some fantasy series, because it is the season for a bit of fantasy. Okay, it's time for a catch up. So the lighting might be really off because it is literally like 7:30 in the morning. I am about to go to work, but I just wanted to catch you up with where I am at with Two Twisted Crowns, because I literally have just put it down this morning and I've hit the 50% point. So it is Wednesday. I did start this on Saturday, I think, which is crazy. Like, I really have not read that much this week. I started to feel a little bit slumpy. I don't think from the book, just I wouldn't even say slumpy, I would just say one of those weeks where you're just in a mood to do things that aren't reading. Like as we can see, I'm in a different setup. Monday I wanted to spend like all day reading, I rearranged. Sunday I did a lot of cleaning. Like I've just been doing non-bookish things. I did read quite a bit yesterday, I got like 100 pages in, which was nice. I had a really busy day as well, woke up late so I didn't get to read before work, so that was good. But in terms of thoughts on the actual book so far, I'm really enjoying it. I've definitely found it a little bit harder to get into, purely I think because I've not been reading huge amounts. That's probably one of the reasons. I always find that with books, is if I'm taking my time to read them, reading them little by little, I find them a lot harder to get into. But also with this book we have like 3 different POVs, and each POV is on a different kind of plot line, which I always just find really difficult picking it up and getting back into it, because I just forget what most recently happened in that storyline. Like sometimes we're away for like a good few chapters, so like I've just read like 40 pages, and I think the first chapter that I read in that time was a short chapter of one character's POV, and then we've not gone back to them yet, and there's been like quite a few other chapters. So I think sometimes it just makes it difficult, especially like one of them is kind of on a slightly different time. Like it's a little, I can't really get into it. If you've read the book you'll know what I mean by one of them just being a little bit of an out there plot, which makes it a tiny bit harder as well. But yeah, so far I am enjoying it. A lot has happened, a lot is happening. There's a really good romance plot in this one as well, which I'm really enjoying. There's definitely more kind of like, there's not been actual spy scenes, but there's been like discussions of spice that we didn't really have in book 1, and this is definitely feeling like a true fantasy. I feel like you know you're reading an adult fantasy when the contraceptive tonic is mentioned. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, so far so good. I'm excited to see what happens in like the next 50%. I don't really know where we're gonna go from here, so yeah. But I'm gonna wrap this little update up because I need to leave for work. So we've officially gotten to the time of year where I finish work, I eat, and then it's kind of too dark to film these talking parts, although it's not actually looking too bad. I've got my lamp here, the window's there with some light, so fingers crossed. I like this as a filming setup though. I've not filmed from this angle yet. What do we think? For talking videos, I quite like it with the chair behind. Anyway, as you will have seen, I did finish 2 Twisted Crowns in my lunch break today. I was actually working in the office and then I came home, finished the book. So I loved 2 Twisted Crowns. I am still sitting on my rating for it just because I am trying to take my time a little bit more with ratings now, because I had definitely noticed I was rushing them, and then like I'd read another book and be like, that book was not, it was not a 5-star, it was not a 4.5 star. So I am staying on my rating, but as always I will tell you after we've read all of the books when we're wrapping this video up. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I loved the magic system, I loved the writing as well. Like, it was really beautiful writing, but like simple enough that it was like an easier read. You know, sometimes like the writing is like a little bit too lyrical to the point where like it takes away from the reading because you're like, this is actually tough to read in this way. So we love that. I have picked up Warstorm now, so I picked it up on my Kindle, but I do have the physical copy. I'm gonna try and make my way through. It's so long, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm 2 chapters in. Well, I've read 2 chapters, so I'm on chapter 3. So I'm on page 30, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not enjoying it so far. I kind of forgot what happens a little bit, and then I was reminding myself, and I obviously no spoilers, I don't like the romance in these books. I don't think it's a strong enough romance where like I believe that the characters would take the actions they're taking. Like I just don't. We've not got enough scenes, in my opinion, of that kind of evidence. I need evidence in my romances. I'm gonna keep pushing with it, but I have also just done a Amazon book order, which is gonna come tomorrow. I ordered 3 books, 2 of which are series that I am in the middle of, and then the third one is a book that I just want to read, of course. So we've ordered, for the series, we've ordered Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands and then Wisteria by Adeline Grace. So yes, they're gonna come by 1. So for this evening, I'm gonna keep pushing with this. I'm gonna see how I'm getting on with it. I don't want to like be too quick to DNF it. 30 pages is not a lot to tell. However, when I started the series, I do remember a lot of people saying the writing isn't incredible. And when I hadn't been reading fantasies, and also I've read a lot of good like writing recently, like I've read Foxglove, One Duck Window, Two Twisted Crowns, If We Were Villains, Nora Goes Off Script. Like these are good writing. I feel like you just notice it a little bit more when things aren't quite on that level, which is okay. Sometimes we're reading for the vibes, but when it's this long, I need good writing as well. So as I said, we're going to keep pushing because we are not quitters, and I'd like to get to at least like 100 before I decide if it's a DNF or not, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna have a shower. It's really early, it's 7:15, but I'm gonna get ready for bed, and I'm gonna read. As you will have seen, I have now in fact ordered, and it's been delivered, Wisteria by Adeline Grace, and I have also started that. So I did decide Warstorm is not for me. I ended up reading some of Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan before I went to bed because I was like, I need something to read, and I have also stopped reading that. Obviously this is a fantasy video, so we wouldn't have been reading that in this video anyway, but I did immediately. Foxglove came, I unboxed it, I took my Kindle downstairs in my lunch break to read more of Summer Romance. I went, walked back upstairs, got Wisteria, and was like, yeah, we're reading this now. So we're reading that. So far I've literally only read the prologue. I've had the busiest work day like probably ever for me. The time has come for the Wisteria update. I am finally just over 100 pages through. So I'm definitely feeling quite slumpy at the moment, and I honestly cannot tell if it's this book that's making me feel slumpy or if I'm just slumpy in general. I think I would be lying if I said that I'm not struggling a little bit with this. So in Wisteria, we follow a different character, and so it's not the same main character that we've had through books 1 and 2. And there's just not a plot right now, I'm not gonna lie. The others have kind of been like murder mysteries, whereas I don't feel like this is anything. Like nothing is happening. I'm 100 pages in and I genuinely like do not know what's happened. Like obviously it's the 3rd book in a series, so I'm not going to talk to you about the plot or anything because that would make it kind of spoiler. But yeah, like just nothing has happened. I don't feel like this book needed to be a book, like so far. And it's annoying because I don't know if maybe that plot's going to develop more, but we're hearing about something that our main character from books 1 and 2 is like, she is on another murder mystery. We've been told that she's doing that, but like I don't think we're gonna find out. Like we're not gonna be involved in it, and it's kind of like, oh, I'd much prefer if we'd have just stayed with her. and heard about her, like hers would have been a lot more interesting. Because right now we're also in this position where like we know something that these characters don't, and I'm not finding it like in, I don't know, like I feel like if they'd have found out maybe earlier on, but like I'm 100 pages in and like nothing has happened, and it's not even like, you know, sometimes with the book you're like nothing is happening, I need to know like what's gonna happen. I don't even feel like that, because I know the thing the characters are gonna know, and because it's not happened this early on, I genuinely feel like it's being set up that that's not gonna happen until the 50% point, and then I'm like, what's the point? I'm gonna read the blurb in my head, I won't read aloud, to see if there's something that is gonna happen. It's not giving that things are gonna happen, which is kind of disappointing. I am gonna keep going with it. I've got a few more things on my to-do list to do. Well, I'm gonna get changed back like into an outfit for Pilates. I've got a few more things on my to-do list to do, and then I'm gonna sit down and read before Pilates and basically hope that it starts to improve a bit, because right now it's just making me feel so slumpy, and that's not what I want when filming these videos as well for you guys, because it means I'm not getting a good impression of the book. I'm also not wanting to film as much, like, it just makes like not a great video. So hopefully things start to get better. But yeah, that is my not so fun update of where we're at with Wisteria. Also, it's so grey and rainy today, like I've literally having to go back to using artificial light, which is sad, but I'm gonna get reading. Let's catch up with Wisteria. So when I spoke to you yesterday, I was 100 pages in. I'm now 300 pages in. Yesterday was a productive reading day. So I basically ended up skipping Pilates because of the storm. So I read all evening, then I read for 45 minutes this morning, and then I read for 50 minutes in my lunch break. So we've got a lot done. So I've got 120 pages left. I've just started a 2-hour timer and I'm gonna finish this book. In terms of how I'm feeling about it, the feelings are still mixed, but there is a plot now, kind of. There is somewhat of a plot. We are just getting into something that feels like a strong plot, and we have 120 pages left. So basically I feel like the next 120 pages are going to be absolutely batshit crazy, which I'm really excited about, and it's exactly why I've set a 2-hour timer and I'm going to read it all in one go, because why would I not? So yeah, I'm gonna start reading that because it's literally 7:30 and I would quite like to I'd like to finish this and then start my next book, because there's something about like starting a new book of a morning I just don't love. I don't know, I always find that finishing a book and then picking up another book straight away is something that really helps me with reading slumps. Top tip. But yeah, let's finish Wisteria. I finished Wisteria last night. I'm still deciding my full thoughts on it. The plot definitely picked up kind of from when I last spoke to you. However, we'll talk more about it like at the end once I've sat on my feelings. I've not thought about it since finishing it though. I've had a really busy day at work. I've started to take on marketing work, which is really exciting. And today was my first like full day of it, and I'm feeling frazzled. I read half before work. I went to work, I didn't take a lunch break, I just left an hour early, so you have an hour lunch break. So my brain frazzled right now. I'm really hoping I can read this book. But yeah, I've not thought about Wisteria once all day. It didn't hit for me. Nothing happened to, like, it didn't really feel like the series. It felt much more like a standalone or like a spin-off series. Like, it just didn't hit for me. I didn't love it. I did get a bit emotional at the end, I'm not gonna lie, because it was really sweet. The ending was cute, but again, more in that kind of standalone way. I don't feel like we needed that book to finish the series. Like, it just, I don't know, it felt like maybe the publisher was like, the series is doing really well, let's push another book out. I didn't feel like it needed a third book, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll talk more about that later when we do the wrap up of all of the books. So as I said, I started Emily Wilde. I started it this morning though. I'm 18 pages in. It is 5 to 7. My only plan for this evening is to read. I'm working from home tomorrow as well, which is nice. So yeah, I just want to read, get a fair way through this hopefully. I'd really like to get like at least 100 pages in, because I've got a really busy weekend actually. So I'd like to get this wrapped up in the next 3 days. But yeah, for that reason, I'm going to stop talking now and start reading. As you can see, probably it's the evening. It's pretty dark. Autumn has hit, but I'm here to give you a super quick update on Emily Wilde and how I am doing with Emily Wilde. So far I'm enjoying book 2, which is what we're reading, Emily Wilde, Map of the Other Lands. I'm enjoying this so much more than what I enjoyed book 1. Book 1, it took a really long time for anything to happen, whereas because of kind of the events and some things that we find out at the end of, when kind of middle to end of book 1, we are working on those in book 2. So we are joining Emily and Bumblebee again on a field mission, which is nice and fun. They're in a different part of the world this time. They're in the Austria, and there's been like a lot more action, kind of a lot more happening. It's definitely still cozy vibes. It's not high stakes at all, and it doesn't feel high stakes when you're reading it, but more is happening. It feels like there's more plot. It feels like this time we're actually working towards something. Our characters are working towards a goal, whereas in the first book it felt like Emily was just working towards this goal she had of writing her encyclopedia. And like, she is still writing a book, so the book that she is writing this time is the Map of the Other Lands, but this time it feels like they are working towards more. And I don't know if that was maybe something that like was done in the book based off her feedback or what, but I am enjoying it a lot more. I found it a lot more gripping. I'm on page 141, so I've only read about 30 pages today. I woke up kind of late and then went for a big walk in my lunch break, so I just read a few bits throughout the day. But yeah, so far enjoying it a lot more than the first one. And again, I think sometimes the sequels, it's just nice to be back with the characters, and that's definitely how I feel about this book. So yeah. And that is 3 more fantasy series either complete or I'm up to date with, which is so exciting. There's something nice about knowing you don't have to like to finish a series, isn't there? You don't have that weight of a series when you're picking another series to start. But let's start with Emily Wilde, because obviously we haven't spoken about that since I finished it. I think I last gave you an update either halfway through or 100 pages in, I'm not too sure, but I ended up finishing this on Friday. So I definitely preferred this to the first one, and I think if you liked the first one but you found that like it was just a bit boring and that nothing really happened, you will like this one a lot more. It's quite strange because it doesn't feel high stakes but it also isn't like low stakes either. Like, completely, like, I don't know if it's where it's written in diary form, the more kind of like tense and exciting moments don't feel as high stakes, because you're like, well, it's a diary, like I know that we're coming out of the other side of this because it's a diary. I don't know if that's just a me thing or if other people have found it, but I definitely found kind of the storyline and the plot in this a lot stronger. I loved the romance in this one so much more as well. This just feels like an overall like much stronger second book than the first one. It had all of the things that I loved about book one, but then the things that I didn't like were really a lot stronger in this one, which made it a lot more enjoyable. So I've actually bumped the first book's rating down, and I have decided to give it a 3.5, and I'm bumping this to a 4-star. Definitely feels a lot more like a 4-star than the first one did. Like I rated the first one a 4-star to begin with, and I wouldn't want to rate this anything higher than 4 stars, so I just think it makes sense to do them in that kind of order. So this is a continuation of book one, and some of the things that we find out, especially towards the end of book one, we continue on that journey, and Emily is working on her map of the other lands in this one. Something I will say is that like the actual scholar work doesn't have as much of a role in this. We're much more focusing on the plot and the thing that our characters are trying to do. I can't say because it'll be a huge spoiler for book one, but that is the main thing that we are focusing on in this book. We are in the Austrian Alps, so it's very cozy. It takes place from September to October, so perfect for like this time of year really. And yeah, it's really cozy vibes, nice and autumnal feeling. And do you know what, these books actually, I realised the other day, I was like, these books really remind me of something, and I couldn't remember what it was. These are like a grown-up version of the Spiderwick Chronicles to me, like in the sense that you're learning about like the fae and they call them the folk mainly, the same kind of way as you almost do in the Spiderwick Chronicles. So I feel like if you were a fan of the Spiderwick Chronicles when you were a kid, you would probably really like Emily Wilde, so I would definitely give it a go. Okay, so the book that we read before Emily Wilde was Wisteria, which was the third and final instalment in the Belladonna series, and I gave this 3.5 stars. I absolutely love Foxglove, which was the second book in this series, and I ended up giving that one 4.5 stars, and I was really excited to see where the story was going to go, as we do change like who our main character is, so I thought that would be really, really fun, really exciting. However, what I personally ended up finding, and I have looked at some Goodread reviews, and I've not seen anyone else say anything like this, but I found that it ended up feeling really disjointed from the rest of the series. It didn't feel like the other two books in the series. It felt completely different. It felt more like a standalone that just so happened to exist in that universe. We didn't really get to see the characters that we came to know and love in the first two books. We focused much more on other characters, and it definitely felt more kind of like just a normal romance. Like the fantasy element kind of felt like it was lacking. There were some bits that I really liked. There was a bit of this book where we go somewhere, and it really reminded me of the Magnificent North that we go to in the Once Upon a Broken Heart stories books, which I really, really liked, and I found that really fun. But as a book itself, like, it just didn't feel strong enough. It did make me cry towards the end, but I think, okay, I was listening to a Twilight playlist, and you know the song that's like I Will Love You for 1,000 Years, like that came on, and like, just if you've read this book, if you know what this book is about, I feel like you'll understand that came on like right towards the end, and it just made it hit really hard. So this is another reason why playlist is everything when reading. But yeah, ultimately I did give this 3.5 stars. The first half was really, really slow. I felt like the pacing was really off in this book compared to the others. Like, it took a good, I was over 50% of the way through when things like finally got going, and I did end up reading I think like pretty much the last half in one night, and it wasn't, or like one day, and it wasn't a oh my god I need to finish this because I'm so gripped kind of feeling. It was a I'm gonna sit down and kind of make myself finish this, because if I don't, it's going to take me so much longer to read it, and I kind of just want to be done with this now. So yeah, it was a little bit disappointing, I'm not gonna lie, but it is what it is. We're done with the series now. And then obviously I did have a DNF in this video, which was War Storm by Victoria Avard. I'm not sure if I'm going to go back to the Red Queen series. I will obviously have to keep letting you know in future videos. I can't decide. I'm really up in the air about it, I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me would quite like to go back to it. Part of me is like, there's so many other books and I don't care what happens, like fully. I kind of realised, I think that's the reason why I just couldn't get back into it, was like, I don't care what happens to the characters. I don't care what happens in the rest, like how the series ends. I don't feel like emotional attachment to the characters or anything, and considering I've done 3 books with them, you'd think I would, but I don't. And I feel like when you're at that point, you can't make yourself read a 700-page book about the people. So, and then we have our final book. I don't have it on my Kindle screen because I've started a new book. We'll talk about the back of the Kindle, which is Two Twisted Crowns. I love this. I did end up giving it a 5-star, I think. I do keep thinking about it. I keep thinking about the characters. To me, the beginning half I struggled with quite a bit, but I think some of that was more so that I didn't just sit down and read. And I think this is something that I've spoken about in videos before. For me, I have to read in big chunks. Like, I really struggle when I'm reading small amounts at a time. It's not the best way for me to read. The best way for me to read is to sit down for kind of like 2 hours at a time, or like an hour at a time even, and read in big chunks. If I'm reading kind of here and there, I do often find that I don't enjoy the book as much, which is something that I think was happening for me at the beginning of the book, because as soon as I reached a point where I was sitting down and reading it in big chunks, I started to enjoy it so much more, and that's what made it a 5-star for me. It was pretty much everything I wanted for. Do you know, I would say it's everything I want in a fantasy book and more. The romance was perfection. I loved that we basically pick up on another character's romance in this book. So because of the events at the end of the second book, it kind of would make it a little bit difficult for us to be focusing on the romance in that book. Really loved that we ended up picking up on some other characters, and I loved their story so much. It was so perfect and so well done, and I loved how that I ended up loving, I think I said in one of my updates that I was really struggling with it because it was in like 3rd person and you were going between different POVs, and I found it really confusing. Once the plot of those 2 people kind of really separated, I really enjoyed the multiple POVs, especially when some other things happened with, because there was 3 POVs, so once some other things happened with the 3rd POV, it made it really enjoyable. There's some scenes that I just think was so well written, especially like the way that the passing of time was captured in some scenes was just absolutely perfect. Definitely like everything that I would want in a fantasy book. The magic system of this series for 2 books is so well built, and it's such a complex magic system, but there was at no point where I was like, I don't understand this magic system at all. Like, I felt like I really understood the world. I just absolutely loved it. I cannot stop thinking about these characters. I know that when I've loved a book, because I come up with like a fan cast for it in my head, there's very few series I have a strong fan cast for, and this is now one of them. I would also call it a 5-star series. Book 1 was a 4.5 for me, but I think as a series it would definitely be classed as a 5-star. I am hoping to get the physical copy soon, but I've been waffling on for a while now, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, I would really appreciate if you could give it a thumbs up. I feel like I always forget to say these kind of things. And also subscribe to my channel so that I know that you want to stay around and that you don't miss videos, because I am a heavy consumer of YouTube and I always forget to subscribe to people, and then I'm like, oh, they've uploaded, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not subscribed. They just always come up in my suggested. So please subscribe so that you never miss anything, and comment some series that I should try, because that's pretty much me done with all the series I was reading now, which we love to see. If you see my TBR video though, you will know that we will be starting the Six of Crows trilogy, which I'm terrified about, and also A Crown of Ivy and Glass. I think that has a 2nd book now, so we are quickly going back into some more series. But yes, that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!